Would you rather share bad news or good news? I'm sure we'd all agree that sharing good news is much better than sharing bad news. Have you ever had to break bad news to someone? It's really not that fun at all, is it? I love sharing good news or exciting news or even breaking news, but bad news, that's kind of a struggle. I think that's something most people would just kind of want to avoid at all costs if they could. In fact, I can remember trying to convince my sister that she needed to be the one to break the bad news to our parents that we had broken the ceiling fan. In my mind, she was the obvious choice because maybe they wouldn't discipline her as much as they would myself. Most of us avoid sharing bad news, but not the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah is another one of the prophets in the Old Testament, and he had a message from God that wasn't really great news. See, God spoke through him as his mouthpiece, a message to the people of Israel, a message of destruction, a message of doom, and a message of wrath. And think about it, this was all to the people living in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas. This was not pagan lands, this was the people of God, the nation of Judah. Now listen, as you can imagine, that message was not very well received by Jeremiah's friends and family and neighbors. But don't think for even a second that Jeremiah had any joy whatsoever in delivering the bad news. No, it caused him great grief and much sorrow. In fact, Jeremiah is also responsible for writing another Old Testament book. Can you guess which book that is? I'll give you a second to shout out the answer to your group. Did anyone get it? Hey, that's right. It's the book of Lamentations, or to lament something. You see, Jeremiah is affectionately known as the weeping prophet. He had a lot of grief that he carried. Now, I want you to feel the massive weight that he carried on his shoulders as he looked out at his people, his friends, his family, his home nation of Judah, and he declared to them that because of their idolatry, because of their rebellion against God, that God was going to allow the nation of Babylon to overthrow the city of Jerusalem. In fact, Jeremiah even warned the people that they should not even fight back against Babylon, because just as sure as the sunrise, the victory of Babylon was inevitable. You can see why the Israelites thought that Jeremiah was crazy, even a little bit unpatriotic. Yet Israel really was hardening their hearts to Jeremiah. And in hardening their hearts to Jeremiah, guess what? They were hardening their hearts against God. They were rejecting the message that God was sending them through the prophet Jeremiah. Listen, as you read through one of the specific prophecies today in the book of Jeremiah, you're going to hear specifically about God's wrath. And guess what? God is still going to pour out his wrath, his judgment upon a sin-filled, rebellious, proud, hard-hearted world. But thankfully, Jesus Christ bears the wrath for us through his death on the cross. So remember, as you discuss in your groups, that God is delaying his coming, okay? He is delaying his judgment and wrath so that more people will come to know the love and forgiveness that is found only through a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that, my friends, is good news. And that is good news worth sharing. Enjoy your discussion together.